Welcome back to Season 5, Episode 3. Breaking the Chains, Healing from Emotional and Physical Abuse. Donations help my podcast grow larger and produce more smoothly. My merchandise is more expensive than I would like I usually state, because we are going through a third party, therefore I only get a small percentage of the merchandise that is sold. And also you can buy my merchandise by clicking the link in the description below. Thank you all so much for your continued support. Again, I am your host, Kelly. I want to know, how many of you that's been through mental or physical abuse or both, if you lost your identity and your self-esteem was at an all-time low during your abusive relationships. Most likely this happened to you, and it's normal while you're in an abusive relationship. So the topic of this podcast is going to be called Your Identity is Not Defined by the Abuse That You Endured. Again, the topic of this is called Your Identity is Not Defined by the abuse that you endured. Here is the definition of identity. It is the unique set of characteristics that can be used to identify a person as themselves and no one else. Again, I'm going to restate that. The definition of identity is the unique set of characteristics that can be used to identify a person as themselves and no one else. Identity, meaning how they view themselves as compared to other people. I'm going to repeat that too, because this is the topic of this podcast. Identity, meaning how they view themselves as compared to other people. When you have stayed in an abusive relationship for months or years, the cruel words, the physical abuse, or both changes the perspective of a victim's mind. I'm going to elaborate about this. Before the abuse began, you were outgoing, filled with goals or dreams for your life. You were motivated to accomplish your daily tasks. You were very excited about your future. Then your partner began to emotionally, physically, or both, physically and mentally abuse you. And then you lost your identity, and your esteem was at an all-time low because of the physical and emotional abuse, or both. Your abuser starts to curse you out while saying hateful words about your character to you daily. This is why you lose your identity. Also, your abuser is causing you physical harm to your body, such as bruises, slap marks, broken bones, or loss of your vision or hearing. This is when a victim of domestic violence changes the perspective of themselves because of their abuser. The victim of emotional and physical abuse loses his or her identity when in an abusive relationship. Traumatic events during your abusive relationship will cause the victim to question his or her roles, goals, values, and beliefs. Again, I'm going to repeat that. During your abusive relationship, it will cause the victim to question his or her goals, roles, values, and beliefs. Also, your abuser will take you far from your identity. Therefore, you will struggle to remember who you were before the abuse began. Also, the abuse that you are enduring can lead to constant anxiety and depression. For a victim of mental, physical abuse, or both, you begin to lose your identity because you are confused and vulnerable. And this is not your fault. This is because of all the abuse that you are enduring from your abuser. When you lose your identity during or after an abusive relationship, then you will begin to have these thoughts. Number one, I'm not worth wanting. You feel like this because of the many months or years that you experienced physical, mental abuse, or both. Also, your abuser most likely stated to you more than once, you are too damaged for anyone to pursue a partnership with you, which is so far from the truth. 2, you feel like you're not worth loving. The victim blames himself or herself for the abuse. I'm going to restate that too. The victim begins to blame himself or herself for the abuse. Also, the victim has heard many degrading comments about their character from their abuser. 3, you feel like you're not worth liking. A victim feels that he or she isn't a likable person, for their abuser has told them horrible remarks about you on a daily basis. Therefore, the victim begins to believe the lies of his or her abuser. I'm going to repeat that. For their abuser has told them horrible remarks about you on a daily basis. Therefore, the victim begins to believe the lies of his or her abuser. 4, you feel like you're not worth fighting for. The whole reason that your abuser continues to stay with their victim and abuse him or her is to maintain control over their victim. I'm going to repeat that. The whole reason that your abuser continues to stay with their victim and abuse him or her is to maintain control over you. The abuser will tell you daily, I hate the way you look. I just wish you would leave. When in reality, he or she doesn't want you to leave because the abuser will lose all control over you. I'm going to repeat that. Your abuser will state this to you. I just wish you would leave. When in reality, he or she doesn't want you to leave because the abuser will lose all control over you. 5, you feel like you're not worth noticing. An abuser continues daily to put their victim down. This is why the victim doesn't believe that he or she is handsome or beautiful to get noticed by anyone. I'm going to restate that. This is why the victim doesn't believe that he or she is handsome or beautiful to get noticed by anyone. Here are some examples of what an abuser will tell his or her victim. You have always been crazy. You are ugly. You are being paranoid. You are overreacting. That never happened. It's your fault. It was just a joke. Why can't you just take a joke? And none of those degrading remarks that your abuser is telling you is true about you. Remember that. The victim gets bombarded from all the horrible comments about their character from their abuser, that he or she feels that nobody will ever notice the true beauty inside of them. I'm going to repeat that. The victim gets bombarded from all the horrible comments about their character from their abuser, that he or she feels that nobody will ever notice the true beauty inside of them. When you have lost your identity, then you will become insecure. An insecure person holds on to unrealistic expectations about love and relationships. I want to elaborate on that. The reason why you become insecure during your abusive relationship is because of the physical, mental abuse, or both. It's because of all the degrading comments. And if you've been physically abused, all the bruises, slap marks, broken bones, um, emotional abuse because of all of the really horrible, degrading comments that your abuser has said to you has left you to lose all your identity and you feel insecure. And so you begin to think that this is normal, that being in a relationship with an abuser is normal. You believe that it's okay for your partner to slap you. You believe it's okay for them to break your bones. You believe it's okay for them to call you crazy or to say you're lazy and all these horrible comments. That is not the way a relationship should work. A relationship is based on love, unconditional love, and it's based on respect for each other. And when you have been in an abusive relationship for so long, you believe it's normal. However, it's not. Because a partner is supposed to lift each other up. When you're in a relationship, the other person should lift his or her partner up. You should be, if they're having a bad day, you should, say great things about them. And, you should love that person unconditionally. It should not involve daily disrespect from your partner. That is not a good relationship. Or being physically abused. That is not a good relationship. So when you leave your abuser and you get into a healthy relationship, then you will become disappointed because you will create situations that didn't happen in the relationship. Because you are holding on to your insecurities because of the abuse. And that's why the healthy relationship doesn't work out, because you created these situations that didn't happen in the relationship because you're holding on to your insecurities or insecurity from your past abuse. However, you can begin to seek professional help to work on your insecurities while you're regaining your identity back again. So, there is hope. You can regain your identity, and you will. And honestly, your identity will be better and stronger, and your self-esteem will be better than ever when you leave your abuser. And if it takes professional help to work on your insecurities, then you can get professional help while you're regaining your identity back. And there's 3 ways you can prevent the loss of your identity during the abuse. I don't recommend staying with abusers. However, some people do stay in abusive relationships. The reason being is because they are really concerned for their child or children. However, I don't recommend staying with the abuser. On the other hand, there are people that are in abusive relationships because they are really concerned for their child or children. It's very difficult to prevent the loss of your identity when in an abusive relationship. However, if you feel that you can escape from your abuser, there are some tactics that you can use to maintain your identity until you leave your abuser. Number 1, you need to create boundaries with your abuser, and you need to stick with them. Tell your abusive partner that it's absolutely wrong for him or her to continue to mentally, physically abuse you or both. Also, tell your abuser that you vowed to leave him or her if they continue to abuse you. I'm going to repeat that. Also, you need to tell your abuser that you vow to leave him or her if they continue to abuse you. Number 2, you need to decide what you need to do today. This means when you wake up, then you must discover what mood your abuser is in. Meaning, is he or she happy or angry, frustrated, or sad? Then once you discover it, you have to work around your abuser's mood once you discover what mood they're in. Number 3, refuse to change. I truly believe that everyone knows which compromises are acceptable and which compromises are not acceptable in a relationship. During a partnership, a small amount of compromise is normal. However, your abuser wants to change your whole identity. I'm going to restate that. However, your abuser wants to change your whole identity. This is because your abuser wants full control over you and your identity. You are not defined by the cruel words. You're not defined by your physical abuse. You're not defined by the emotional abuse. You are not defined by your struggles. You are not defined by your feelings. You're not defined by your circumstances. You are who God says you are. You are a son and daughter of Jesus, your Father who loves each of you unconditionally. Each of you are made unique by your amazing personality. I'm going to repeat that. Each of you are made unique by your amazing personality. From personally speaking, your abuser will strip your identity away while you are in emotionally or physically abusive relationship. You will regain your identity back. There's your hope. You will regain your identity back after you leave your abuser. And your identity will become stronger. You'll become more motivated than ever before. So you can accomplish your dreams and your goals for your present and for your future. I'm going to restate that. And your identity, when you regain your identity, you will be stronger. You'll be more motivated than before your abusive relationship. You will accomplish your dreams, your goals for your present and for your future. After you left your abuser, it's time to take your identity back. You are equipped with strength in your identity. I'm going to repeat that. After you leave your abuser, it's time to take your identity back. You are equipped with strength in your identity. No matter how long you stayed with your abuser, no matter the terrible words that was spoken to you by your abuser. Also, grab your security back too, because you are more than enough. I'm going to repeat that. Also, grab your security back because you are more than enough. Your identity, strength, and security will be stronger than ever before. I'm going to repeat that. Your identity, strength, and security will be stronger than ever before. It's all yours. Nothing and no one can take it away again. I'm going to repeat that. Nothing and no one will take your identity away again. You absolutely deserve a healthy relationship. I'm going to restate that. You absolutely deserve a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is where you are shown unconditional love, respect about your identity from your partner. Here's the greatest news that you can regain your identity back and work on your insecurities after you leave your abuser. It's all about rebuilding your identity after you took the most courageous step to leave your abuser. While rebuilding your identity, you can seek a professional counselor, psychologist, or therapist. I am very proud of you for leaving your abusive relationship. It proves how strong and determined you are. While you are striving to regain your identity after the abuse, here are some concerns that you will be working on to regain your identity. Number 1, you're learning to love and accept yourself again. Number 2, you're setting and sticking to your boundaries with your ex-abuser. Number 3, you're speaking up for yourself and speaking up for your child or your children. I'm going to repeat those. Here are some concerns that you will be working on to regain your identity. Number 1, you're learning to love and accept yourself again. Number 2, you're setting and sticking to your boundaries with your ex-abuser. Number 3, you're speaking up for yourself. You're speaking up for your child and your children. Your abuser slowly chipped away your identity. I'm going to repeat that. Your abuser slowly chipped away your identity. Restoring your identity will be a slow and continual process. I'm going to repeat that too. Restoring your identity will be a slow and continual process. Incorporate these 5 points as you rebuild your identity. Number 1, you need to surround yourself with your support group. Go back to the family and friends that your abuser forced you to quit communicating with, and they will completely understand. I am referring to the family members and friends that you were close to before your abusive relationship. Your family members and friends will show you the love and support that you need while regaining your identity. 2, finish doing what your abuser told you that you could not do. Here are some examples. You were wanting to attend college to receive your degree when you were with your abuser. And your abuser told you could not accomplish that. Now is the time you can go back to college and you can accomplish that by getting your degree. Or you didn't go for that promotion on your job because your abuser told you couldn't. There was no way you were going to get that promotion at your job. Now is your time to go for that promotion at your job. Just follow your dreams and goals in life that you were striving for before the abusive relationship. 3, move at a slow pace. At the beginning, it will be difficult for you to communicate with family members, friends, and other people. That is normal since you are regaining your identity back. It's good to take time to make decisions because you don't want to end up in another toxic relationship. I'm going to restate that. It's good to take time to make decisions because you don't want to end up in another toxic relationship. 4, set boundaries with your ex-abuser and stick with it. Please understand that it's healthy to set boundaries with a toxic person and stick with it, for you are rebuilding your identity. When you have a child or children with your ex-abuser, then you still have to communicate with him or her. However, just keep every conversation that you are having with your ex-abuser just about your child or children. Even if your ex-abuser starts attacking your character, continue to stick to the discussion about your child or children. 5, ban, block, and cut your ex-abuser out of your life. That's if you don't have a child or children with your ex-abuser. If you don't have a child or children with your toxic ex, then you cut them out of your life altogether. I'm going to restate that. If you don't have a child or children with your toxic ex, then cut them out of your life altogether. It helps your healing process during regaining your identity. Also, it makes your ex-abuser lose all control over you and your emotions. It will be a process for you while you are regaining your identity from the abuse. It will take time and effort. It will be worth it all. I am going to repeat that too. It will be a process for you while you are regaining your identity from the abuse. It will take time and effort. It will be worth it all. I stated this encouraging paragraph in a previous podcast, and I do believe it relates to this podcast too, so I'm going to restate it again. Today, know that you are good enough. Stop worrying if you are pretty enough, strong enough, rich enough, smart enough. You must know that you are enough. Don't let negative thoughts have power over you. Take a deep breath and know that you matter and you are enough. That is by Rose Hill Designs by Heather. I'm going to spell the last name because I know I will probably pronounce it wrong. The last name is spelled Stillufsen. And I'm going to repeat that paragraph. And if you have to restate this while you are regaining your identity, then restate this daily or more than once a day. So it says, today, know that you are good enough. Stop worrying if you are pretty enough, strong enough, rich enough, smart enough. You must know that you are enough. Don't let negative thoughts have power over you. Take a deep breath and know that you matter and you are enough. By Rose Hill Designs by Heather Stillufsen. Thank you again for joining this podcast. This was season 5, episode 3. And again, donations help my podcast grow larger and more smoothly. And also you can donate by clicking the link in the description below. Also, you can buy my merchandise by clicking the link in the description below. And again, I'm your host, Kelly. Have a great evening.